Greetings, everyone. Brad here with Mild Manner DDC. Today, we're going to do something you probably won't see too often on this channel, and that is we're going to review, this particular Microtech. This is the Combat Troodon, the sort of pinnacle, I think, of Microtech's out the fronts, OTFs. There'll be a cameo here of the Microtech Ultratech. So these were super generously loaned to me by my buddy Scott, who runs the Big Board Knife and Gear YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed to Scott, please get over there and get subscribed. First of all, he's just a great human being, but apart from that, he's got a great channel, does fantastic reviews. He's got an awesome sense of humor, just a cool guy. So thank you, Scott, for loaning these to me, because I'm not sure I would have ever probably featured these on the channel had it not been for you. So very much appreciated. Really fascinating knife, right? There you go. So in my home state here in Washington, it is illegal to carry this type of knife, this type of automatic knife. In fact, it may be illegal to even own them, but that's, anyways. So I was gentle with these. Like I said, these aren't my knives, and I wanted to be respectful of Scott's expensive and very cool knife. But I did carry them around the house quite a bit and fidgeted the heck out of them. I mean, these are crazy fun to fidget with. And let me just, bottom line is, that's just a badass knife. It's just a badass knife. And I don't know any other way to describe that, honestly. This thing is just cool. It is just cool. If you are a knife person, regardless of whether, where you sit on the sort of tactical spectrum, right? This is definitely high speed, low drag, right? There's no question about that. And I'm sort of not that, right?
Ooh, that's a bingo.
But that doesn't mean I can't appreciate both how this knife is made, the materials, the craftsmanship, etc., but also that it's just cool. It's just cool. Is this a knife I would carry? No. One, it's illegal, so no, not really. But two, no, it's just not my style. But man, is it neat. It's just so freaking neat. I just loved playing with these, looking at these, messing around with these. It was just a lot of fun. So anyways, we'll go ahead and do a normal classic review on these because they deserve that. They weren't that, but I just kind of wanted to give that sort of intro there of what we got here, why it's on the channel, and just so you understand sort of how I'm coming at it. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this fascinatingness. So this is the Microtech Troodon, Combat Troodon. It is the biggest Microtech they make. And let's go ahead and just get right in with a spec check there. So we've got a blade length here of 3.8 inches. There we go. And we've got a blade thickness on this Troodon of, disappeared. Oh, wait, there it is. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. 0.12 inches. So real nice thin blade stock there. We've got a handle length, very easily done, of 5.75 inches and a handle thickness of 0.55 inches. And that gives us an overall here, tip to tail, of 9.5 inches, so 9.5 inches right on the money, and then a weight of 5.35 ounces. So this is neither a small nor a lightweight knife, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but yeah, so there you go. Now, just for a quick comparison here, so this is the Microtech Ultratech, and you can kind of get a sense of the size and scale difference there. Blade shapes, that was fun. Yeah. Obviously a very different blade style. This is known as the Hellhound style of Tanto. Also very cool. But you can just see the size difference is pretty remarkable. So let's just do a size comparison. So there we go. You got two Microtechs there. How about a Bestech Swordfish? So you can see you know, the swordfish, I'm trying to line up a pivot on a knife that doesn't have a pivot. It's definitely kind of basically in swordfish territory. If you're familiar with what a swordfish looks like, how about, let's do a standard. I'm going to move this out of the way for a minute here. There's a Benchmade bug out. So there you go. So I mean, it's a big knife, right? I mean, it's definitely a big knife, but it's not crazy. I mean, right? I mean, and it's big certainly in a lot of it's certainly big this way, and it's a little thick, but you know, and 3.8 inches is not a blade length to scoff at by any means. There's a mild mannered Swiss Army knife, by the way. But yeah, so it's, you know, it's in some ways I think it feels bigger than it is. Maybe that's the way, what I'm trying to get at there. It's just got a presence. Maybe that's the that's the key there. So there we go. I did a few size comparisons there. Let's get into this. So blade. So this has a, oh wait, let me get the blade out. Oh, there it is.
You are a nerd.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be doing that all video. Sorry if that annoys you. So it's got a dagger style blade here, and these are flat grinds. Now this, you'll notice here, DE, that stands for double edge. So both of these edges are sharp. I have never owned, or frankly, I've never handled. I had handled an Ultratech before. I had never handled the Combat Troodon before. I'd never handled actually a double-sided, a double-edged blade, a double-edged dagger blade. Certainly not, at least not in a folding / retractable blade style type thing. So very interesting. So there you go. So you get this, and this one certainly has that. It has a black finish on there with some satin highlights. It's got a fuller in here with some grooves, you know, blood grooves, whatever you want to call them. Very, very nice. This, you know, grind is really impressive considering it's on both sides and how symmetrical and good it is. It's very sharp, definitely very sharp. So, and we've got a blade steel here of LMAX, which is really interesting. And as I was doing more research on Microtech, you know, when I was kind of prepping more for the review, it's because, again, I haven't handled a ton of these or even seen that many of these because, one, again, they're illegal in my state, and two, it's just they're not generally my style. But it sounds like they do a lot of different versions. So you can get, you know, obviously I showed you on the Ultratech, you know, you can get that blade style here. You can get it with serrations, and, you know, the blade steels vary. They do a lot of different things. So anyways, this particular blade on this particular Troodon isn't going to be the same that it would be on every Troodon. But I think this one's a very cool. It's very cool looking. I definitely think if you're going to go this style, this is the way I probably would have went too. You'd see their little USA mark because this is a USA made knife. So very cool on that front as well. So yeah, so from a blade standpoint, there you go. I mean, it is a dagger. It is not messing around. I think this blade style and shape really has one purpose. And I think that's more of a tactical and self-defense purpose. I don't think this blade style is definitely... I don't think it's necessarily ideal for everyday carry in terms of just sort of a utility knife, so to speak. You know, it's definitely got a purpose and a function, and I think the action and whatnot plays into that as well. But anyways, there you go. So that's what we got on the blade. Very cool blade. You know, it's kind of hard to argue with. It's definitely done well and is very attractive for what it is and what it's trying to be. So there you go on the blade. Now, let's talk about the best part of this, right? And that's the action. Oh, yeah. I mean, it is like firing it's like firing a gun. Now, I will say this. So there's a couple things about action. So first of all, phenomenal action. It's a phenomenal out the front action. Not only is it, and this is a double action. So a double action meaning you push a button to deploy it and you push a button or you slide a whatever, and it retracts. So instead of just some come out, and then there's another mechanism to bring them back in or whatever, but this is the double action. Now, the solidity and smoothness of the action caught me off guard. It really did, especially for something this big. It's really, I mean, just listen to that. I'm going to do it by the microphone here. Yeah, I mean, it's just really neat. So the action is fantastic. Now, it does have, as is typical, I think, of out the fronts, a tiny little bit of blade play. Now, actually, I was a little surprised at how little it has. Now, here on the Ultratech, there is a bit more. You can hear that, a bit more pronounced blade play there. But for this one, it's pretty darn minimal. So I was pretty impressed with that. And again, that's pretty standard for, I think, just about any out the front. But this one seems, they seem to dial it in pretty darn well. So, whatever spring they're using on this thing, it is firing out amazingly. Now, a couple of the things that I think are interesting, and I was a little nervous about carrying this around, and again, I think I talked about this a little bit in my ProTech Magic review, where, automatics give me a little bit of, especially someone who, I haven't carried them a ton. I'm obviously much more comfortable with the Magic, but one of the reasons I liked the Magic was it felt like it was such a difficult thing to sort of accidentally deploy, right? I think that's the big thing, the big fear out there is you're going to deploy this thing in your pocket and, you do that and you're going to lose a leg or something, or worse. But no, seriously, I mean, but I want to show you something. So here's your thumb sliding bar here. Look how far you push this. Look how far, and look at my thumb, by the way, that white under my nail, that's because I'm applying a really large amount of pressure to get this up. And look how far you have to go with it before it deploys. I mean, it's literally right at the end there. That was super, super impressive to me. I did not expect that. So, I mean, the chances of this, honestly, the amount of effort, it is, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is really difficult, I would think, to deploy this accidentally in your pocket. I mean, you'd have to be doing some kind of weird gyration to make that happen. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and on the retract, it's the same thing. I mean, I'll try to show it. You really have to, so once the knife is out, it's also very secure as well. So, I give a lot of kudos to Microtech for that, because that can't be an easy thing to engineer, and to do it as well as they've done here. Very, very impressive to me. Honestly, the mechanics of that and the precision of that is impressive, and the safety factor of that. Now, the other issue here, and by the way, I'm featuring one of my new Underdog Hanks. Just did a giveaway with one of these two, by the way, and I picked this one specifically because why? It's got some dinosaurs on it, and for those of you that don't know, a Troodon is actually a dinosaur. I'll throw a picture up there of it. It looks like a raptor or something. But anyways, so for lack of a better thing. So I want to show you something. Scott, don't get mad at me for doing this. I'm going to knock it off the tracks. But it's got a feature in it where you'd think that if you just did this, it would just slice right through, pierce right through with the action, the force of this thing coming out. It would just fly right through this handkerchief. Let's find out. Oh, what happened? Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, yeah, that's not good on any level, right? No, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. And what that is a safety mechanism. So if this goes off against something sort of bluntly. Now, if it was just a sheet of paper, I think it'll slice through. Let me show you. Now you just pull it all the way out and it resets and it's back to normal. And in fact, let me show you with a sheet of paper now that I'm here. Why not? Why not? All right, let's do this. Okay. And look at that. It still did that. So again, I think that's a testament to what we're talking about here. Now, if you put it right up on the top, let's see what happens if we do it this way. Scott's going to, I'm sure he's freaking out going, what are you doing to my knife? Oh, there you go. So it came through, but look at that. It didn't, and that's a one sheet of paper doing a ray over at Everyday City Carry and just throwing it away. But yeah, and when you do this, as you can see, nothing's happening, right? It just falls back in. You can either kind of slide it out like that, and then it sort of can reset itself, or you can pull it out and make sure it's done. So anyways, I just wanted to show that off, but I'm sure a lot of people know that, but I just think for those that don't, I think that's a really interesting feature. And it just adds to, not only is this extraordinarily unlikely to be going off in your pocket accidentally, or anywhere accidentally, your bag, anything, because it has to be that sustained push. You also get a relatively that's not going to go through your hand. I don't think it would. And I mean, it would cut you, I'm sure, but especially with that blade style. But anyway, so I know I've talked a long time here about the action, but it's really, really cool. And again, the same features are on this Ultratech with the Hellhound blade style as well. And that is an equally good action, by the way. So there you go. Now, let's go ahead and talk. So we've got that kind of out of the way. Awesome action, super fun. I mean, again, I was just sitting on the couch multiple days, just doing this over and over and over again. So awesome. Really, really neat. Scales and hardware. So these are aluminum scales, which is pretty standard in the Microtech lineup. That's, aircraft grade aluminum, as they say. Whatever. I think that's done pretty attractively. They're nicely chamfered. Everything is smooth, lines up flush. They come in, I think, a green as well, but, and like the Ultratech, I think it can come in a bunch of different colors. I don't know about the Troodon, whether it comes in a million colors or not, but I know it does come in a green. I used to be harder on aluminum than I am anymore, mostly because it reduces the weight quite a bit. I mean, if this were in titanium or steel, oh geez. But titanium, I have to imagine this would be another ounce or two, or at least ounce and a half or so. So, at 5.35 ounces, that all of a sudden beefs that up, not to mention the cost. And again, we'll talk about that towards the end like we always do. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard, everything put together pretty well. It does come with these proprietary screws. So taking this knife apart will not be super easy. If that's your thing, fine. If that bugs you, that's fine too. I'm not going to complain there. But but there you go. And it's got 6 of them. And then it's got this carbide tungsten steel glass breaker, skull damager, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, apple denter.
Right.
It's got, here on the end for, whatever your purposes might be. And then it's got this clip right here. So there you go. I mean, scales and hardware, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Now, ergos and carry. So ergos, I mean, again, it's a big rectangle essentially, and its ergos are pretty darn good. The only complaint I have, a couple little complaints, and they're all in this area. One, this thing is really big. I mean, and again, it gets back to the point of this knife, which I think is to just be tactical. But this edge here on the clip, I'm not sure why they went with right angles right there. Why they couldn't have... I don't know. I would have just preferred to see that a bit more, because that for in my hand and the way that I sort of, and you can see it, the mark, it leaves a little bit of a mark in there. I mean, just the way that I'm deploying it, the way I kind of anchor it, not only is the glass breaker sort of right there, but that edge of the clip really does dig in during deployment and retraction. Actually, almost more weren't during when I retract it. But when it's just in use, I don't notice that at all. And in fact, and obviously you don't notice the glass breaker, but it feels just fine. And so the ergos are really great. It's just the deployment and the retraction that I noticed that a little bit. The ski jump there is a little pronounced. And in fact, on the Ultratech, it sort of does the same thing, although this one has far less of that feel because of the style. But yeah, so I mean, I would have maybe liked to have seen a slightly different clip there. I don't know if this is a reversible clip or not. Scott, maybe you can tell me down in the comments. I obviously wasn't going to mess with that. I didn't see it online, but I may have just not been looking at the right places. So I'm not sure if you can change this to a left side or right side carry. It's definitely ambidextrous. I'll give that for an out the front, right? Whew, no issues there. But I don't know about the carry, and it obviously is tip down only. Although if you count this a tip, then it's tip down and tip up carry. So, so there you go. So those are kind of the ergos. And carry, this carried fine in the sense of it's got a nice deep carry pocket clip. It's big and it's heavy. I knew it was in my pocket. That was for sure. This carried much, much better. This sort of carried like a real steel metamorph. It's that same style blade. So, again, I think it really gets to, do you want this sticking out of your pocket or not? Again, not really my style. And I don't generally carry my knife for self-defense purposes, but a lot of people do. And I see I can see the reasoning for that. But I can also see that this is also pretty darn discreet. So if you're going to have this in your pocket, it is going to be discreet. So, whatever this is sticking up, people could think that's a pen. I mean, who knows, So for that purpose, I think they did a real nice job, and it does slide in and out of the pockets really, really well. So what's the bottom line on this, right? This is not a mild-mannered knife, right? And it's not a Brad knife really at all, but it's an awesome knife. It's a really, really cool knife. It's amazing to get to be able to handle this and hold it. I really appreciate Scott giving me the opportunity. The Ultratech as well, and again, I chose not to do two separate reviews because I think you're kind of talking about the same thing. It's just in, scales and slightly different styles of blade shape, etc. But so this review is a little bit longer. Sorry, I apologize for that.
Gotcha. I'm not sorry.
But yeah, but I think it warrants it. This is just a really neat knife, really cool to play with, especially if you're a knife person. You gotta try one of these at least once and mess around with it. It's pretty darn awesome. And I have to say, overall, the machining, the quality, the feel, the solidity, it's all right there. This is definitely a package. And, at $495, this is not a cheap knife. So, this is definitely an expensive knife, but you're getting a pretty incredible mechanism, pretty incredible action with some great engineering, some interesting safety features. Just overall, a very cool knife, a cool steel. I like Elmax. I know there's some out there in M390, but Elmax is a really neat steel. So good on you, Scott, for grabbing the Elmax one whenever it was available. Cool knife, fun knife. I really enjoyed it. All I can say is, maybe not the most mild-mannered, but definitely a lot of badassery right here in this little package. So with that, stay safe out there, everybody. Shouldn't be a problem if you're carrying one of those. Be mild-mannered to one another, and all the best.